Welcome to a deep dive into the world of turduckens. We'll be exploring this multi-layered culinary creation today, drawing from scholarly articles, historical accounts, and even some heated press releases. You might be surprised to learn just how complex and controversial this seemingly simple dish can be.
What's fascinating is that the turducken's origins are shrouded in mystery. There's a lot of debate about whether they're a natural phenomenon or a culinary invention.
So we're talking about like a creature that roams wild, or something dreamed up by a particularly ambitious chef.
While some theories suggest turduckens might have existed naturally, there are accounts describing sightings in regions with diverse bird populations, but these lack concrete evidence and tend to lean towards folklore.
Okay, so maybe not something you'd find wandering around in the wild. What about the culinary invention angle?
That's where things get more interesting. Historical records suggest that multi-layered roasts, conceptually similar to the turducken, have existed for centuries in various cultures. Some culinary historians believe the turducken as we know it might be an evolution of these older dishes, possibly originating in Louisiana, which has a rich tradition of Cajun and Creole cuisine.
That makes sense, considering the turducken's reputation for being a flavorful and festive dish. But how did we go from a historical concept to the complex world of turducken farming that we see today?
It's been a gradual process driven by both culinary innovation and consumer demand. As the turducken's popularity grew, particularly around Thanksgiving, the need for a consistent and reliable supply led to the development of specialized farming practices.
So it wasn't just a matter of stuffing one bird inside another.
Not exactly. Raising turduckens involves more than just stuffing. It requires a deep understanding of poultry anatomy, flavor profiles, and cooking techniques. Modern turducken farming focuses on creating a harmonious blend of flavors and textures, ensuring that each layer complements the others.
That sounds incredibly intricate. Do you have any insights into what these specialized farming practices actually entail?
One of the key challenges is maintaining the structural integrity of the turducken during cooking, because you're dealing with multiple types of poultry. Each with its own cooking time and moisture content, there's a risk of the layers separating or becoming unevenly cooked.
So how do farmers address this challenge?
They employ a variety of techniques, including careful deboning, strategic layering, and specialized cooking methods. Some farms utilize a process called artificial assembly, where skilled butchers meticulously debone and arrange the birds to ensure a tight fit and even cooking.
It sounds like creating a turducken is as much an art form as it is a culinary skill.
Absolutely. There's a lot of precision and attention to detail involved. Another important aspect is managing the flavor profile. Farmers carefully select breeds of chicken, duck, and turkey that complement each other in terms of taste and texture.
So it's not just about fitting the birds together, it's about creating a symphony of flavors within the turducken itself.
Precisely. They also use a variety of seasonings and stuffings to enhance the overall flavor profile. Some farms even go as far as incorporating gourmet ingredients like truffles or foie gras into their stuffings.
That sounds incredibly decadent. It seems like turducken farming has come a long way from its humble beginnings. But with all this talk of deboning and layering, I can't help but wonder about the ethical considerations involved. Are there concerns about animal welfare in turducken production?
That's a valid question, and it's a topic that's generating a lot of discussion within the culinary world. While there are no specific regulations governing turducken farming yet, many producers are adopting ethical practices similar to those used in traditional poultry farming.
So they're focusing on humane treatment and responsible sourcing.
Exactly. Many farms prioritize the well-being of their birds, ensuring they have adequate space, proper nutrition, and access to veterinary care. There's also a growing movement towards using heritage breeds and sourcing poultry from local farms.
It's encouraging to hear that ethical considerations are becoming increasingly important in the world of turducken production. But I'm curious about the actual process of creating a turducken. Can you walk us through the steps involved?
It's a multi-stage process that requires a high level of skill and precision. It begins with the deboning of the birds. Typically, the turkey is deboned first, leaving the skin and wings intact to form the outermost layer. Then the duck is deboned and fitted inside the turkey cavity, followed by the chicken, which forms the innermost layer.
So it's like a culinary puzzle, fitting these different birds together seamlessly.
Exactly. And it's during this assembly process that the stuffing comes into play. Each layer of poultry is typically separated by a layer of stuffing, which not only adds flavor but also helps to bind the birds together and create a more cohesive structure.
It sounds like the stuffing plays a crucial role in both the flavor and the structural integrity of the turducken. Are there different types of stuffing used?
Absolutely. The stuffing is where creativity and regional influences really shine. Traditional Cajun turduckens often feature a cornbread-based stuffing with sausage and spices. Other variations might include wild rice stuffing, oyster stuffing, or even fruit-based stuffings.
So there's a whole world of flavor possibilities within the turducken itself. It's really a testament to the culinary ingenuity of those who created and continue to refine this dish. But I'm curious about what happens after the turducken is assembled. How is it cooked to ensure that each layer reaches the perfect level of doneness?
That's where the real challenge lies. Cooking a turducken requires precise temperature control and careful monitoring. Because the different types of poultry cook at different rates, it's crucial to ensure that each layer reaches a safe internal temperature without overcooking the others.
So it's not something you can just throw in the oven and hope for the best.
Not exactly. Most turduckens are slow roasted at a low temperature, often for several hours, to achieve a tender and juicy result. Some cooks prefer to use a roasting pan with a rack to elevate the turducken and allow for even heat circulation. Others opt for a covered roasting method to trap moisture and prevent the outer layers from drying out.
Sounds like a delicate balancing act,
Yeah,
managing the heat and moisture to create the perfect turducken.
precisely. And throughout the cooking process, it's essential to monitor the internal temperature of each layer using a meat thermometer. This ensures that the chicken, duck, and turkey all reach a safe temperature, eliminating the risk of foodborne illness.
So there's a scientific element to turducken cooking as well.
Absolutely. Understanding the thermal properties of different meats and how they respond to heat is essential for achieving a perfectly cooked turducken.
It seems like every step of the turducken journey from farm to table involves a unique blend of culinary skill, scientific knowledge, and a touch of artistry. We've covered a lot of ground in exploring the origins, farming practices, and even the cooking process of this fascinating dish. But I know there's more to the turducken story, particularly when it comes to the debate surrounding free-range turduckens.
You're right. The emergence of free-range turduckens has sparked a fascinating debate, with proponents touting the ethical and environmental benefits while opponents raise concerns about potential risks and unintended consequences.
It sounds like we've got a culinary controversy brewing. I'm eager to delve into those contrasting perspectives and see what insights we can uncover. But first, I think we need to take a quick pause to process all this incredible information about the turducken's journey from myth to marvel. Welcome back to our deep dive into the world of turduckens. Right before the break, we are about to unwrap a culinary controversy: free-range turduckens.
Yeah, so to really understand this debate, let's look at these press releases we have. One from the Feathers and Forks Coalition, the other from the Coalition for Culinary Integrity. Two very different perspectives.
Sounds like it could get intense.
Yeah.
What's the Feathers and Forks take?
They're really all about free-range turduckens. Big emphasis on the ethical and environmental benefits.
Okay, so break it down for us. What are the main points?
Well, they talk a lot about the natural diet of these birds. They say it leads to, like, a way more complex flavor profile.
I mean, that makes sense, right? Like letting them eat all sorts of stuff versus a controlled diet.
Exactly. They argue that it creates a richer, more authentic culinary experience.
Sounds pretty good, honestly. But what about the ethical side of things?
Oh, they are big on that. Feathers and Forks believes free range means a more humane life for the birds. They say giving them space to roam, to act naturally, makes them happier, less stressed. And that, they claim, even affects the flavor.
Huh. Interesting. So it's not just about taste for them. It's about animal welfare, too.
Yeah.
What do they say about the environmental impact of all this free-range turducken farming?
They claim it's way more sustainable than conventional methods. They even cite a study from the Flavor Sustainability Institute, found that free-range turduckens have a lower carbon footprint. Less transportation, less reliance on those big factory farms.
Okay, so they've got some research to back up their claims. Now I'm really curious to hear what the other side has to say. The Coalition for Culinary Integrity. They probably have a very different take on all this.
Oh, yeah, they definitely do. They're much more cautious, emphasizing the risks, the challenges that come with free range.
So what are their big worries?
Well, their press release argues that free-range turduckens could actually threaten, like, culinary integrity and consistency. They say that unpredictable diet can lead to variations in flavor, texture, too, and that makes it super hard to get that perfect balance, that harmony that traditional turduckens are known for.
So their argument is that, like, you need those controlled environments to guarantee a good quality turducken every time.
Exactly. They're also worried about food safety. They say free-range birds might be more likely to pick up parasites or diseases, things that could end up in the final product. They want stricter rules, more inspections, to keep things safe for consumers.
I can see their point. Food safety, IS, a big deal. So both sides have some valid points. What about the environment, though? Does the Coalition for Culinary Integrity address that at all?
They do. They get that traditional farming has its environmental problems, but they argue that free-range turduckens aren't necessarily the solution. Their press release even brings up studies showing that free-range livestock can cause, deforestation. They need more land for grazing, which can be bad for habitats.
So this is pretty complicated, huh? No easy answers here. Both sides make good points. It's about weighing the pros and cons.
Exactly. And this whole debate is still going on. We need more research to figure out the long-term effects of both approaches, free-range and deconventional.
This is really fascinating. It's just a dish, right? But it sparked this whole conversation about how we produce our food. The ethical side, the environmental side, it's more than just what's on the plate.
For sure. It shows how food choices are connected to bigger things. Things that impact the environment, the animals, the future of, our whole food system.
Speaking of unexpected connections, I still can't get over this whole pet turducken thing. I mean, come on, who has a pet turducken? It's so strange.
Yeah, it's definitely out there. But, maybe it's not that surprising. Our relationship with animals and food has always been kind of weird, kind of complicated, always changing.
That's true. But what's making pet turduckens popular now? Is it just like a fad? Or is there something more to it?
I think it's a mix of things. Some folks are probably just in it for the novelty, right? The pure absurdity of having this, triple-decker bird as a pet. But for others, it seems like there are deeper reasons.
Okay, I'm listening. Like what kind of reasons?
Well, some people talk about the unique companionship a turducken can offer. They say they're intelligent, affectionate, even funny. They believe the bond you can have with a pet turducken is as strong as with any other pet.
I'll be honest, picturing a turducken snuggling on the couch is a lot. But hey, maybe they have their own quirky charm.
You never know. But it's not all about emotional stuff. There are practical aspects, too. Like some folks are into that self-sufficiency thing, raising their own food, more sustainable, right? And for some, it might even be artistic, a way to express themselves through food, to have a deeper connection to what they're eating.
So it's not just having a pet. It's about changing how we think about food, where it comes from, how we consume it.
It seems that way. But like with any unusual pet, you got to think about the ethics and the practical challenges. Being a responsible owner is super important. Making sure a pet turducken gets the right care, food, vet visits, all that.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I bet it's hard to even find a vet who knows how to treat a turducken.
Exactly. Not to mention the potential chaos if your pet turducken gets loose in the kitchen.
Oh, man. Can you imagine? But seriously, anyone thinking about getting a pet turducken, please do your research. Make sure you're ready for what you're getting into.
Absolutely. Impulsive pet choices, they can have all sorts of consequences for the animal and the owner. But even with those challenges, the fact that pet turduckens are becoming a thing, well, it says something, right? It shows that people are looking for different ways to connect with their food, to challenge the idea of what a pet can even be.
It's a perfect example of how food can lead to these big conversations about ethics, about sustainability, even about what it means to have a companion.
Exactly. And as we keep exploring the world of food, which is always changing, we're bound to find even more surprising, thought-provoking things.
It really is amazing, the turducken seems so simple, but it can tell us so much about our culture, our values, our whole relationship with food.
It's like a perfect example of how food can be a window into bigger societal trends. We started out by debunking those myths about where turduckens come from, separating fact from fiction. Then we got into the nitty-gritty of turducken farming, all that skill and science that goes into making this crazy multi-layered dish.
And we didn't shy away from the tough stuff either. That whole debate about free-range turduckens. People on both sides with such strong opinions. It just shows how complicated modern food production is and how much people are thinking about the ethics of it all.
Yeah, and it's a debate that goes way beyond turduckens. It's part of this growing awareness, about the impact our food choices have on the environment, on animal welfare, on whether our food systems can even last.
And then, just when you think we've covered it all, bam, pet turduckens. It's like, whoa, what is going on here? It makes you question what a pet even is anymore.
Yeah.
And how our relationship with animals, with food, is changing.
It definitely does. It reminds us that the culinary world is constantly changing, pushing boundaries, starting conversations that go way beyond the dining table.
So after this whole deep dive, what have we learned about the turducken?
Well, I think it's safe to say that the turducken it's more than just food. It's a cultural thing, a symbol of how creative we can be with food, a source of serious debate, and maybe even a friend. It shows how much we love food, how we always want to push those culinary boundaries, and how our understanding of food keeps evolving, how it's tied to ethics, to sustainability.
The turducken reminds us that even the simplest food choices, they can be really complicated. It encourages us to think more about what we eat, to ask questions. Where did this come from? What impact did it have?
Yeah, to be more conscious consumers.
Exactly. And ultimately, the turducken is like a miniature version of the entire food world, full of surprises, contradictions, and just endless possibilities.
That's a great way to put it.
Well, I think that about wraps up our deep dive into the world of turduckens. Hopefully, you all have a new appreciation for this multi-layered marvel, and for all the interesting questions it raises.
And hey, next time you see a turducken, whether it's on a menu or in a magazine or even, sitting on someone's lap, think about everything behind it, the history, the culture, the controversy. It's all part of the story.
Thanks for joining us on this culinary adventure, everyone. Until next time, keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep diving deep into the fascinating world of food.